As teachers, we understand that most of our curriculum builds upon itself. So when we are starting our class, it's a really good idea to reignite student knowledge from the previous day. Here are our top tips to help you help students review at the start of your lesson. Number 5, think, pair, share. So think, pair, share is a really easy strategy to use. It doesn't require a lot of planning. What it involves is you posing a question to your students about the previous lesson, giving them a little bit of time to think about it as individuals, and then allowing them to turn to their partner, usually the person seated beside them, and discuss their answers to the question. Give them a couple minutes to do this, and then have them share out or call on a couple groups. Number 4, parking lot. With the parking lot strategy, you're going to need either some white space on your board or maybe some blank poster paper that you can hang up around your classroom. One way to do this would be to write review questions on top of each piece of paper and then have your students move around the room to answer those questions. Number 3 is a student summary story. So what you're going to do is tell the students to pull out a sheet of paper and write down what happened on the previous day. What was the lesson about? What did they learn? Tell them to make it really sequential. So you want to have a clear beginning, a middle, and an end, and have them write it out. If your students get really good at this, you can have them to start doing it in reverse. Talk about what the outcome was and then how they got there. Number 2 is going to be graphic organizers. Graphic organizers are so important, especially for your visual learners out there. Whether you're using a Venn diagram or a web where you're actually literally drawing connections for their learning, or the KWL, which the last part of that is what have you learned? So they're thinking about what they have picked up in the past that's related to your lesson. But these graphic organizers are so powerful that I often found on my final summative test that students will have drawn parts of graphic organizers into the margins to help them memorize answers to questions. So it's a really powerful tool. Number 1, discussion. If you don't use any of the other tips, and I really think that you should, but if you don't use any of the others, use discussion. Now, I know that some of you may be thinking that I've tried discussion in the past and it wasn't very effective, nobody wanted to talk, and that is something that you can run into. But how to avoid it is to be really detailed in your planning and be intentional in the questions that you ask. Write them out beforehand, write down follow-up questions as much as you can to kind of start the ball rolling and then keep it rolling. Also come up with a type of process. I mean, this can be some sort of participation grade if you want to go that route, or it can be something where the kids know that you're going to pull a popsicle stick with their name on it and they're going to need to talk. But once you start getting that discussion going and you start having students engaged with it, there's going to be other voices in the classroom that are talking about the material that you've been teaching them other than your own, and other students will be able to pick up on that and they'll have that positive social peer pressure to participate.